Can you talk about interpersonal relationships without talking about conflict? We have a variety of relationships in our lives. Friends, roommates, spouse, or someone we're in a romantic relationship with, parents, work colleagues, and bosses. When you have a relationship, sooner or later, you will have a conflict with that person. Do we let the conflict define and destroy the relationship, or do we use the conflict to grow in the relationship? As strange as it sounds, it's possible for conflict to lead to a better relationship. Let's find out how. So why do conflicts occur in interpersonal relationships? It's important to think about this before conflict happens so that we'll be better prepared for the conflict. Different studies identify a variety of causes for conflict. Personal viewpoints, things that we perceive as flaws in other people, people trying to establish power over someone, intimacy issues, distrust, or responsibility issues. You might say that one person has a set of expectations of what will and should happen, and the other person violates those expectations. That's when conflict occurs. Our expectations are built on our own experiences growing up, our family example, our culture, and our beliefs, attitudes, and values. We all have these things. When we are in a relationship with any other person, we're actually bumping up against their ideas. Since we are all different people, conflicts will happen. It's not if, it's when. The question is, what can you do to prepare yourself to be more successful in turning conflict into a better relationship? In the early 20th century, education researcher and writer John Dewey proposed a straightforward process to use when conflict occurs. Following this type of approach to conflict can lead toward success instead of failure. If it's possible in your relationship, spend some time talking about this plan on how to deal with inevitable conflict, or sit down and come up with your own plan. But the success will come when you figure out what to do with conflict before it happens and talk about it with the other person if possible. Here are the steps, as I would explain them, that can help you with conflict. The first step to dealing with conflict is to stop. Stop and mentally step back and realize that you are now in a conflict. And this is not bad. You've just bumped up against someone else's expectations of how things should go. Now it's time to use your interpersonal communication skills. The second step to dealing with conflict is to sit down. Ask the other person if you can sit down with them and see if you can figure this issue out, or if another time is better. Let the person know that you value the relationship more than just having your way. Take the steam and the emotion out of the conflict by approaching it as merely a problem to solve instead of a personal attack. Now, it might be a personal attack, but if you respond in the same way, you'll never solve anything. So ask and see if you can sit down and work on solving the conflict. The third step to dealing with conflict is to define the problem. In clear and unemotional terms, try to figure out the problem. It's fine to ask the other person to talk and then let them talk it out. But instead of listening for their position, try to hear what their expectation was that you might have violated accidentally. The fourth step to dealing with conflict is to brainstorm. Brainstorm all of the possible ways to look at the issue and solve the problem. Brainstorming is just getting ideas out and on paper. It's good to have as many ways of looking at a solution as possible before either one of you decide on what to do. The fifth step to dealing with conflict is to decide on a possible solution. Decide and then talk about whether you both think the solution is workable. Evaluate it and see if you can set a new set of expectations about the event that's agreeable to both of you. The sixth step to dealing with conflict is to reaffirm your commitment to the relationship. Reaffirm your commitment and somehow express that whether you might disagree on certain things that will come up, that the relationship is more important than the conflict. Before we end here is a final exam question. Know the 5 conflict styles mentioned on page 295 and 296. To review, let me give you a personal example. When my wife and I married 6 years ago, she said she didn't like conflict. We knew it would happen from time to time, and so we sat down and made a plan, wrote it out, and put it on the refrigerator. Here was our plan. If we had a conflict, the first thing that we would do is to stop and hug each other and tell the other we loved them. Second, we would talk the issue out calmly. Third, we would try to come up with a solution we could both agree upon. And fourth, well, we would hug each other again and tell each other one more time how much we loved each other. Now, I don't think this will work with your boss, but hopefully you get the idea. Conflict will happen. Know why, and have a plan in mind to work toward a better relationship. See you in the next video.